Raj Realty, small enough to have you, big enough to serve you, was started by my father, Mr. Chandra Duveri, in 1979. 42 years in business, going strong in sales, rentals, management, investments and new construction. Call Raj Realty for all your real estate needs.
Hello and welcome to the Dr. VGP Talk Show. At the Dr. VGP Talk Show, we speak so all of you can see and hear. This afternoon, on a cloudy afternoon in the city of Chicago, we are here at the City of Chicago's Council Aldermanic offices in Chicago downtown. A good government is one that governs the least because its people have been taught to discipline themselves and maintain an order. A business tycoon who was recently made the Forbes list of the richest people in the world revealed the secret of his success. It's not how well I manage my finances, but it's how well I manage my resources, my manpower indeed, he said. A mighty king does not use his power because his people and foot soldiers are in line, but every king must vacate his throne to the heir apparent. The old order yielded to the new. Our guest at the VGP Talk Show today is a passionate social reformer and a public servant par excellence who shares in the inner conclave of power in the city of Chicago. A proven game changer and a tenacious social reformer who displays high energy and is a sheer force of resilience. Join me in finding out if she would take the flight to serve the people of the state of Illinois. Welcome. Our guest today to Dr. VGP Talk Show is none other than the dynamic Alderwoman Pat Dowell of the 3rd Ward of City of Chicago. Welcome, Alderman Pat Dowell.
Thank you, Dr. VGP. Thank you for having me here this afternoon on this cloudy Friday afternoon, but it's sunshine in here.
Wherever you are, you bring sunshine, Alderman Pat Dowell. You created history recently by 2 days ago when the City of Chicago Council passed the historic $16.7 billion budget for 2022. Do you think it's a small personal victory for you as chairman of the City of Chicago's Council Budget Committee?
It was definitely a victory for me as the chairman, but also a victory for our mayor who put the finishing touches on the budget. We voted on a historic budget a couple of days ago, which seeks to serve all the neighborhoods in the city of Chicago. We closed the budget deficit. We have made historic investments in areas like homelessness and violence prevention and assistance to families, infrastructure improvements, programs for youth. It was a very, very good budget.
Alderman Pat Dowell, reading the budget, I mean, you put a lot of hard work for piloting. I think it's a masterpiece. Of course, the city budget of $16.7 billion relies a lot on federal aid and also increasing property taxes. But the significant aspect is that you all were able to bridge the $733 million deficit in the corporate fund,
Right.
which pays for the basic services and operations of the city of Chicago. How did you manage to do that, Alderman?
Yes, Dr. VGP, as you mentioned, fortunately we received $1.89 billion from the federal government to help us in our COVID-19 recovery in Chicago. We used a portion of that money and some savings that we saw within the 2021 budget to cobble together $733 million for the deficit that we were going to experience in 2022. That left us with money from the federal government to make real historic investments in all of the social needs that our city has been experiencing over COVID.
Congratulations to you, Alderman Pat Dowell and Mayor Lori Lightfoot, on this amazing budget, which is all inclusive. You have given the post-pandemic manna from heaven, I would say. You've talked about violence prevention, youth, unemployment. You've addressed most of the issues. And I'm sure 2022, with you steering the City Council's Committee on Budget under Mayor Lori Lightfoot's leadership, is really going to be a year of sunshine and prosperity for City of Chicago.
I hope so, Dr. VGP. You know, it's been great working with my colleagues, trying to bring consensus among them to support this year's budget, and we look forward to starting earlier next year and also getting all of the support from my colleagues.
Alderman Pat Dowell, it seems you're a workhorse rather than a show horse.
Exactly.
And we have heard that you have been an alderman in the 3rd Ward since 2007, nearly 15 years. And the 3rd Ward includes South Loop, it includes Bronzeville,
Washington Park, and Fuller Park.
And Fuller Park. Now, I've heard that you've done some amazing transformational work in your ward over the last 15 years. Could you briefly tell us highlights of what they are?
I have been very focused on making sure we have a community that works for everyone. So we try to build affordable housing, market rate housing, for sale rental housing. We've also brought in a couple of new grocery stores. We built a new school, we rehabbed a school, and brought a classical option to our community. We've built some new parks. We've added a recreational facility onto one of our high schools. We continue to provide services to our community. We feed the needy. We provide holiday clothing for people during the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, when families are needing some support. I've been very happy with what we've accomplished over the last 15 years, and we have more to do. There's never an ending to being a public servant for people in the community.
Absolutely, you've done some amazing transformational work. And let's go and take a look. Let's go to South Loop and see how you've transformed the sky. I mean, sky is the limit. You have skyscrapers. I've seen a 78-story building which came up in your aldermanship.
Right.
I was there the other night. And so let's go now, Alderman Pat Dowell, if you have some time, let's go to Bronzeville, South Loop, and actually let our viewers look and see the change that you've made today in Chicago.
I would love to. Let's go.
Alderman Pat Dowell, we are here in your 3rd Ward office in the heart of Bronzeville on 50th and State Street. Thank you so much for being with us from City Hall to Bronzeville. It's been a short journey, but a wonderful, inspiring one, chatting up with you.
Thank you.
You are the primary architect of the transformation that Bronzeville has undertaken over the last 15 to 20 years. It's simply amazing. For those of us who were here in the 80s, I have visited for the Bronzeville area, and I see today there is an indoor tennis court, there's so much developments. Tell us, how did you go about doing it?
You know, thank you, Dr. VGP. Good to see you again. I'm glad to be here. You know, it's been a labor of love, really. I have worked in this community for over 20 years, working with the community members. I mean, I give a lot of credit to the community members, and what we have found is by uplifting the assets of the community, our location to downtown, our historic legacy, the historic legacy of Bronzeville, our great housing stock, our parks, that we have been able to work with the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, Cook County, and the private sector to bring more investment into the community. And what you see over the last few years has been an influx of both public and private dollars to support all of the development needs that we have had in the community. I'm very pleased to see the new housing being developed, the renovation of housing. We've got some new parks. We've got a new tennis facility. We renovated some historic buildings like the Rosenwall. We have basically, you know, put our assets on display, and that's been a good thing.
I think the big difference in how you were able to do this, Alderman Pat Dowell, is your extensive background in urban planning and public policy, having served formerly as the Deputy Commissioner of Planning, also under Mayor Harold Washington's time.
Yes.
And since 2007 in the South Loop, we see those lovely skyscrapers popping up, you know, changing the landscape and transforming your ward. And I think you can take a bow at that.
Well, I'm pleased to take a bow at that. You know, I'm a very humble person, but sometimes you have to brag a little. But this would not be possible without the support of my constituents, the support of the city, the support of the private sector. We're all just amazed at the movement, the positive movement that Bronzeville has made. We still have a lot of other needs. We need more retail, we need more jobs, we need better schools, but we have made great strides.
Your hard work, your dedication, your commitment to your constituents has proven you have been appointed as the chairman of the Budget and Government Oversight Committee, a very powerful committee in the city of Chicago. Now tell me what's going on this. You just presented a great budget, $16.7 billion budget for Mayor Lori Lightfoot, which passed in a record time. Now there's so much talk about redistricting the 50 wards of the Alderman. If I can recap, there are supposed to be 17 to 18, I'm not right about the correct number, predominantly white wards. There are about 16 predominantly African American wards and about 14 Latino Hispanic wards. And there are about 3 wards remaining to make the magic number of 50, which are majority, minority, or influential wards. Tell us, what's the update? What's really going on today in the City Hall? Are we going in for a referendum? And explain to our viewers, what does a referendum mean?
A referendum, Dr. VGP, means that the people in the city of Chicago would vote on the map. The whole city would vote on the map that they prefer. We really don't want to get to a referendum because it's very, very expensive, multi-million dollars it would cost us to run a special election around that one issue. So I think it's really important that the aldermen and the city council agree, come to terms on a map that's going to benefit all the demographic populations in the city. That's a struggle right now. But we'll see. We have, I will say that over the last couple of weeks, the tone of the discussion has gotten a lot better. It's not so vitriolic. So that's a good sign, and I believe that we will come to consensus eventually.
So the city of Chicago can avoid a referendum if the aldermen come to an unanimous or a close to unanimous decision to agree on a map which not necessarily will be the map floated by the Chicago Rules Committee.
Right.
but something which all of you all can decide. The White Caucus, the African American Caucus, and the Latino Hispanic Caucus. Is
Correct.
that right?
That's correct.
And how far are you from that?
Well, we need 41 votes to avoid a referendum, and right now we're not at 41. Let's say let's say that.
Okay, you know, it's very interesting, Alderman Pat Dowell, going through your background. You're a janitor's daughter from New York, and at 6'3", a basketball player. What I found very interesting in you is that loyal streak. You're able to, 50 years later, recall your neighbors' names. Like the other day, you were telling me Mrs. Robinson's house, Mrs. Robinson. Just give us a quick 1-minute recap of how your early childhood and what blended you, because I strongly feel our parents' genes have a lot to do with our makeup where we are today.
You know, I had great parents. I wish they had more children. They only had me. So I'm an only child, and when you're an only child, you spend a lot of time developing deep friendships, reading, and paying attention to your environment, because you usually stick close to home. And that was the case with me. I read a lot. I visited my neighbors. I was a latchkey kid, and when I came home, my neighbors were the ones that looked after me. I had a few good girlfriends, and my life was just based on my block and my little bit of a neighborhood, you know, and life in my school. So, you know, that's been about it.
You were the high school president of the Jamaican High School, if I'm not mistaken.
Jamaica, yes, Jamaica High School.
In New York.
Yes.
And tell us about how being a basketball star at 6'3", how did that earn you scholarships, and where all did you have your education?
Well, I think the one thing I want to say about being class president, I went to a very diverse high school. In my high school, we had Jewish people, African Americans, Haitians, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, white people, and no one went to the prom. So I decided that I would run for class president because I wanted to have a prom where everyone would join in, and was able to do that. Being a basketball player made it easier for me to develop relationships with different groups, because everyone, of course, came to the games, and you know, I was pretty popular. So I used my popularity to make changes that were in the best interests of my schoolmates.
So early on, even as a high school kid, you were a coalition builder,
Yes.
taking the people along with you.
Yes.
Just a curious question for me personally, did you get a prom date because you were so tall? Did you have the New York boys, were they as tall as you?
Oh, Dr. VGP. My prom, I enjoyed my prom, but I went with a friend of the family. My father's best friend's son, Stephen, took me to the prom. He was tall, and we had grown up together, so it was a very easy date, let's say.
Great. How about your college life? University of Rochester? Did you do a bachelor's?
Yeah, I decided to go to Rochester University, one, because it was 8 hours away from home and I could get away from my mother and father, but I went to school to become a social worker. I knew I wanted to be a social worker, and focused on developmental psychology. That's what my degree is in, from Rochester. I played basketball,
got a full scholarship?
Got a full scholarship. So I didn't come out of school with very much owing the school any loan money, so I was also part of the student government, and had a full, exciting 4 years at the University
That
of Rochester.
shows you, that built your personality. Well, when we told our viewers that we are going to have Alderman Pat Dowell on Dr. VGP Talk Show, we have a segment where we have a rapid fire 10 questions. And let's see what the viewers have asked, the 10 questions, and let's go for it right now. You're with us with Pat Dowell, a janitor's daughter, a successful alderwoman who has plenty left in her. The best is yet to come. The first question, a book that you treasure from your childhood.
My favorite book was by Anne Frank. It was Anne Frank. She was a girl who survived the Holocaust, and just reading about the story of that family and the trials and tribulations they went through meant a lot to me.
Great. So you're a very well-read person, and I think I've often told that reading makes a person, especially in your early childhood, and that shows with your breadth of knowledge and actions what you are performing for all of us in the city of Chicago today. Your first crush.
Oh, my first crush his name was Dwayne.
Oh, you still remember his name?
Yeah. And in fact, I've tried to find him on Facebook. I don't know what happened to him, but he was a member of my church. He was on the usher board. I was on the choir.
Wow.
And I think I liked Dwayne all through high school.
So Dwayne, if you're one of the 45 million people watching Dr. VGP Talk Show, do reach out. You know how to get to Alderman Pat Dowell, 3rd Ward, City of Chicago. Alderman Pat Dowell, 3 words to describe you.
Oh, focused, loyal, and competitive.
Great. There you go. Focused, loyal, and competitive. That's Alderman Pat Dowell for you. One cause you want to fight for, Alderman Pat?
I would like to see the end of racism in this country, and to see everyone treated equal, and investment by the public sector, the private sector, all be equitable.
That's so profound, and it's so real today. We have the Kenosha incident. We have the Atlanta incident. I can go on. The racial profiling, the racial inequality. When will that stop? We need leaders like you. And you're right, that's the cause every one of us would like to rally around if you fight for.
Right.
Because that's so important for us, for our future, for our generations, for our grandchildren, children. That's very poignant and very significant today. And we look up to leaders like you, Alderman Pat Dowell, to make that happen.
And it's a challenge, Dr. VGP. The world is not getting any bigger, it's getting smaller.
Absolutely.
And we all have to live here, and we need to be able to live here in harmony and in respect, mutual respect.
Absolutely. Alderman Pat Dowell, 3 people you love to go out and have dinner with.
Oh, well, I'd say the first and foremost, it would be Shirley Chisholm. That was my hero growing up. I'd love to have dinner again with my grandmother.
Okay, what's your grandma's name?
Mary McFarland.
Okay.
And if I was...
Was it your paternal or maternal grandmother?
That was my maternal grandmother.
Okay.
We were very close. She, raised me on the weekends when my parents sent me down to her house. The third person, that's kind of hard. Maybe, I can't think of a third person right now.
Who is Shirley? Could you tell our viewers who is Shirley Chisholm?
Shirley Chisholm was a congressman.
Oh.
And from New York, Brooklyn, who was, I believe, the first African American woman to compete for vice president.
Great. Interestingly, all the 2 people who you mentioned are all women. Do you think women make better leaders today, Alderman?
Of course.
Why? Why
of
do
course
you?
We do. I think women are more compassionate. we are more thoughtful about how we approach problem solving. We're not reactionary in leadership positions. I think we are grounded, and we really hear the needs of our constituents, right? And we try to work hard to bring about change.
Having said that, Alderman Pat Dowell, hypothetically, if you were elected the mayor of City of Chicago, what are the 3 immediate changes you would like to bring about, and how would you do it?
I would like to make sure that funding is equitable in all of the city neighborhoods. I would ensure that the various departments that provide services are representative of the people who live in the city. We need more park district programs. I'd want to focus on that.
Interesting.
And more jobs.
How do you think focusing on Park District would change the city of Chicago? Throw some light to. Is it the climate change, environment? What are you trying to?
No, I'm trying to have more children involved in finding things to do that are productive. Sports was very important to me growing up. It provided me with discipline. It gave me a spirit of competitiveness.
Absolutely.
It helped me to work out differences I might have with people. We settled it on the court. I think the Park District is a great place for a young person to develop their, who they're going to be as an adult.
I mean, very interesting perspective, and I think you hit the root of the problem, which I think other lawmakers and elected officials should think, to mental makeup of children, and how sports, like the Williams sisters, as we know, how they took the unusual path and where they landed. If every Chicago child, or 1 in every 3rd child, takes to sports development, and Chicago Park Districts becomes a professional playground for them, where their sports skills are developed, is something which the city lawmakers should take seriously.
Yes.
I'm so happy, Alderman Pat Dowell, that you had zeroed in on it, because today with the gun violence, we always talk about the negative things, but nobody has come up with how can we change that? What are we to do? Are we trying to do moral policing, or is that the right way? No, it's not. Are we trying to set the mindset of the children, which is very important, and getting the children to go to school?
And that's a very complicated question on how you end gun violence, how you give a person hope. And I think the park districts play an important role. The schools too, after school programming, music, arts, culture are things that help a person develop so that they can be contributors to society.
You are right on, Pat Dowell. I see such a strong woman with such focused goals and so committed. What makes you cry? Do you cry at any time?
Oh, you don't want to be with me when I'm watching a movie. I cry at the drop of a hat when someone can show genuine emotion. So I find that a lot in the movies. So I'm a crybaby when it comes to watching movies.
Okay, good to know that you have all the normal facets of human life. The biggest lesson you have learned from life so far?
I've learned this from my father. My father, as you mentioned, was a janitor.
Yes.
And he would come home and he used to clean planes. Mm-hmm. And he was a janitor for Pan Am, and he cleaned planes. And he would come home and he'd say, the president of Pan Am spoke to me today, and that every person has value. The same people you meet going up are the same people you meet coming down. And so to always treat everyone the same.
How true, so true. I am somebody. Your dad's name?
Norman
Dowell.
Norman Dowell, and he was married to Catherine Dowell. My mother was a nurse.
Wow, you have great genes, and I think that statement is so true even today. Now, if you write an autobiography, what title would you give for your autobiography?
The woman who filled voids.
The woman who fills voids. Friends, let's see how, now the next section we'll see how Alderman Pat Dowell is going to fill the void.
Thank you.
Alderman Pat Dowell said if she writes an autobiography, the title would be A Woman Who Fills Voids.
Yes.
Alderman Pat Dowell, we are here at the XS Tennis Education Academy on 53rd and State Street in the heart of Chicago, which is in the 3rd ward of your alderman.
Yes.
And this is $16 million facility which has 27 indoor courts and 15 outdoor courts. Is really incredible and amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's your creative, visionary leadership has transformed this place which I have passed through several years back, a barren land, into one of the finest youth empowerment facility, keeping our young minds and kids engaged in a tennis sports.
Yes, I mean, the purpose of Excess Tennis, from my perspective, was to bring young people to the facility so that they could learn the sport of tennis and to use tennis as an opportunity to get a scholarship to go to college. And the foundation here, which is led by Kamal Murray, has worked very hard to make this an international spot, and we look to use this as a catalyst for development around the facility, new housing, retail opportunities. We want to make this a destination location.
You are really a path breaker, a change maker, a transformer. This in your ward, which you were able to visualize and implement, displays your pragmatic leadership, is the 2nd largest indoor tennis stadium in the whole country. Kudos to you, Alderman Pat Dowell. Alderman Pat Dowell, we heard the exciting news that you're going to stand for Congress from the 1st district in the state of Illinois, where Bobby Rush, the congressman who is representing that district for the last 30 years, just announced his retirement.
Yes.
Could you tell us how big the 1st congressional district in the state of Illinois is?
The 1st Congressional District, Dr. VGP, is very long and large. It runs from places like Bronzeville and Hyde Park to Markham, from Chatham to Tinley Park. It is large enough to include places like Auburn Gresham to Frankfort, and from Beverly to Mokina. It has a lot of different city neighborhoods and suburban areas and rural areas within the new district.
It's exciting. Actually, Alderman Pat Dowell, the 1st congressional district, look from what you're saying, is a very politically significant and historic and culturally diverse district in the whole of United States of America.
Yes, we have had some really important congressmen represent this district, from people like Bill Dawson to Congressman Ralph Metcalf, to Harold Washington, the first black mayor of Chicago, to Congressman Hayes, to Bobby Rush. So I hope to be the first woman to represent the 1st Congressional District.
And you're joining the Congress in 2022 in the most exciting era. Last year, Congress and all of us was one of the challenging 2 years, 2020 and 2021. Congress has recently passed the American Rescue Plan, the CARES Act, a great infrastructure plan, and I think they're waiting and working on the America Build Better Back plan.
Right, Build Back Better plan.
Yes.
In addition to that work, they're also looking at the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, something that I support tremendously. It's important that we pass that this month in January of this new 2022 year, because it is going to safeguard voting rights acts for people throughout the 1st District, from ensuring that we make Election Day a national holiday.
Wow, that's
to
incredible.
Ensuring that we do have mail-in voting, and that we can at least have mail-in voting for a minimum of 15 days. There's a lot of other activity in that bill, but those are the key points.
You're absolutely right. Voting is so critical and important, especially for all of us in Inglewood and the 1st Congressional District, and the John Lewis Act would definitely make that more accessible
Yes.
and inclusive.
Yes, and so my hope is that this will pass this month, but if it does not, as a new congressman, I definitely will make this a priority.
Great. Alderman Pat Dowell, if elected to the congressman, what will be your first priorities? Tell us, and in which direction you're going to lead the 1st Congressional District.
I want to go into Congress and join in the fight to get these illegal guns off of the streets of Chicago and throughout the 1st District. We have to have national laws that are consistent and uniform across all the states, and I look forward to joining in with the colleagues that are already there fighting that good fight. I'm going to add my voice to that. I'm also focused on small business development and to support entrepreneurs to make sure that they can grow their companies and that they can build wealth within our community. The 1st District is rich with land, and we should be focusing on industrial and manufacturing opportunities that create jobs, but also businesses that build generational wealth.
Absolutely. Ending gun violence is the first step to wealth creation. Creating jobs in the 1st Congressional District is so important. And what about the educational system and the Affordable Housing Act, which is like the anthem going on in the country today?
Yes. Well, all of those are important issues to making sure we have a viable communities, we have a viable 1st District. So one thing I'm really good at, Dr. VGP, is getting resources from within various departments and agencies, and I look forward to taking that skill to Washington, because it's important to bring back resources, to bring back programs, to bring back money to the district so that we can uplift families, working families, communities, businesses, and not-for-profits and other institutions.
Alderman Pat Dowell, you mentioned some things very important. Ending gun violence is the beginning of wealth creation and job opportunities, which we need a lot in the 1st Congressional District and throughout the state of Illinois. Your impact for small businesses and minorities agenda is another very important campaign manifesto. What about transportation in the 1st Congressional District?
Transportation is also a key component to wealth generation and to the creation of jobs. And so the need to find dollars to extend, for example, the CTA Red Line station into deeper portions of the district is very, very important. We don't have all the money yet, and I would, as the new congressman, work to bring more money back into the 1st Congressional District and the state of Illinois.
You are known as a very proactive people's representative who responds to the people's needs. Absolutely, transportation, getting deeper into the 1st Congressional District is high on your cards. What about the U.S. postal system?
That is a tremendous one. That affects literally every single senior, family, business. We have struggled for many years in the 1st District with poor service from our United States Postal Service. And that is one of the things that I'm going to focus on very keenly because we need to increase customer service, make sure our mail is delivered on time. Lots of people depend on that for medicine, for they're keeping their finances straight, for just communicating with their loved ones. So I'm looking to make that a priority.
Here we have Alderman Pat Dowell, a people's leader. She's up on all the issues if she's elected to the Congress, ending gun violence, providing jobs, wealth creation, affordable transportation into the interiors of the district, nurturing and strengthening the existing postal services. She has been a pro in affordable housing and economic development in the 3rd Ward. And I would thank you so much, Alderman Pat Dowell,
so much,
for
Dr.
joining
VGP.
us at Dr. VGP Talk Show today.
Yes.
And I'm sure The 1st Congressional District is very fortunate in having a person of your caliber, proven experience, a people person, responsive to the needs, to be the next Congresswoman of the 1st Congressional District. Wishing you all the best. What's your last word to our viewers?
My last word to the viewers is to Google me and to look me up on my website at www.illinoisfordowell.com. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Pat Dowell, go ahead, girl, and reach the skies.
Thank you.
And you will be the 1st Congresswoman of the 1st Congressional District of Illinois.
Filling a void.
Filling a void. A workhorse, not a show horse. Thank you so much.
Raj Realty, small enough to have you, big enough to serve you, was started by my father, Mr. Chandra Duveri, in 1979. 42 years in business, going strong in sales, rentals, management, investments and new construction. Call Raj Realty for all your real estate needs.